back for, you don't want to go for it? Being back a day? Yeah, why not?
No, 2-month hiatus. Dying in church.
Is it just today you're coming back? Or?
No, I'm on psychiatry now.
How's it been?
I had the first 2 days off because they didn't process constipation.
Are you supposed to be working right now then?
I mean, I was supposed to start Monday, but it didn't start today. But today was only like, I was only there for like an hour. Not even an hour. I like to check in. I went there. Yeah. Spent like 30 minutes. Then I had to leave for lecture. And at the end of like lectures, it ended at 4. And that day I was like, fuck, there's no point.
Where at?
MD.
So you're still traveling from here there, right? Traveling from here there. What year are you?
6. Which
لا لا هنا ماشي. Hmm? Just put it in the أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. This is Surah Al-Kahf, verse 50. Surah Al-Kahf, verse 50. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ كان من الجن ففسق عن أمر ربه أفتتخذونه وذريته أولياء من دوني وهم لكم عدو بئس للظالمين بدلا ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا ويوم يقول نادوا شركائي الذين زعمتم فدعوهم فلم يستجيبوا لهم وجعلنا بينهم موبقا ورأى المجرمون النار فظنوا أنهم مواقعوها ولم يجدوا عنها مصرفا ولقد صرفنا في هذا القرآن للناس من كل مثل وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا. Go ahead, read the translation.
We said to the angels, bow down before Adam, and they all bowed down, but not Iblis. He was one of the jinn, and he disobeyed his Lord's command. Are you people going to take him and his offspring as your masters instead of me, even though they are your enemies? What a bad bargain for the evildoers. I did not make them witnesses to the creations of the heaven and the earth, nor to their own creation. I do not take as my supporters those who lead others astray. On the day, God will say, call on those you claimed were my partners. They will call them, but they will not answer. We shall set a deadly gulf between them. The evildoers will see the fire, and they will realize that they are about to fall into it. They will find no escape from it. In this Quran, we have presented every kind of illustration for people, but man is more contentious than any other creature.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these verses move us generations all the way back to the beginning of the creation. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala last verses, the few verses back, Allah was talking about what? Talking about Jannah, talking about the end of the day of judgment, what will happen in the day of judgment. That's right. That's what he was talking about. And now he moved you from the end of humanity to the beginning of humanity, which is the story of Adam alayhi salam. It's kind of very interesting how the Quran moved from one time to another, one place to another, from one story to another, and it all fits perfectly because, as I said earlier, one of the themes that these verses talking about, as we've seen, the issue of being arrogant, that disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not taking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as their Lord. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding all humanity about where they started from and how arrogant of Iblis that led Iblis to lose his status after he was with the angels. He lost that status because of the arrogance, because he said, أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْ خَلَقْتَنِي مِنْ نَارِ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِنْ طِينٍ. I'm better than this creation, which is Adam. You created him from mud and you created me from fire. Inshallah, if we ever come to this verse, we will know that this is not even true. You know, mud is much better than fire. A much higher level, if you look at like the quality of the mud and the clay, it is higher level quality than the fire. It's the outcome, the production. Use fire to make the clay, actually, and to the benefit of it. Anyway, Ibn al-Qayyim, if you're interested, Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he mentioned about more than 20 virtues for the clay over the fire. And he said even the analogy of Iblis is not valid. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need to argue. He doesn't need to tell him, no, clay is better. Because what motivates Iblis to say, I am better than him? Is it the fact that he logically thinks fire better than clay? Do you think he really said that because he really truly believed that fire is better? Answer me. No. It is what? Arrogance. It's that, rebellion soul. He didn't thought about it logically and came to this conclusion. No, actually. He did that. That's why there is no point from making, for arguing with someone who's arrogant. Because it's emotional thing. It's not a logical thing. And that's very true when you deal with people. Anyway, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, warning all of us, including the people of Mecca, including the Jews that time who came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with this question, and to all of us, reminding us of how old the enmity of Shaitan, his animosity towards us. He's our enemy. He cannot be your friend. He hates you for you being human, not for you being a believer. Listen carefully, I'm going to say that again. Shaitan hates you for you being a human being, not for you being a believer or righteous or a good doer. No, he hates you for who you are, for you being a son of Adam. You being a believer, that makes the double problem. Makes him hate you even more. That's why we know Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that every newborn, a shaitan, what will do to him or to her, will poke them in the side. And I imagine, can you imagine baby, just newborn? Have you ever seen newborn? They look like little thing, harmless, little. Exactly. I don't want to use expressions because all the thing I can think of is not very positive. But when they're born, it's so harmless. Can you imagine some comes and poke in the side? That's so heartless to do that. That's so evil. That's what the shaitan does. He hates human no matter what it is, who you are. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding us of this fact that he is adu. He is our enemy. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding us about another important fact, which is that Iblis, the Satan, exit the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala due to his sins, due to his disobedience. And guess what? One sin led to another. One sin led to another. At-Tawbah, the gate of Tawbah is open for Shaitan, but he never repented. He never did what Adam did. He continued his path and rejecting the truth and disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more and more. And that's one of the most dangerous things about sins, my brothers and sisters. Wallahi, sometimes when you commit a sin, the fear that comes to the heart is not the sin itself, but really what can this sin leads to. it can lead you to feel that it's okay to disobey Allah. And that would lead you to the second one and the third one. And guess what? The sins goes bigger, don't go smaller. Goes bigger in size or in quantity. So you start doing many things after that. It is so dangerous also not to watch the sins of the heart. Because the sins of the heart, these are the sins that lead to the sins of the limbs and the body parts. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about Ash-Shaytan, that his disobedience for refusing to make sujood came from the sin which is inside his heart, which is arrogance, kibr, rejections. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. It is those who follow their desires will miss the salah. That's why look at yourself. Anytime you start fulfilling haram desires in your life, you will find yourself missing salah more often and delaying the salah. Just think about this. Anytime in your life, think about the time of your life when your salah was not good. You always delay it, you always miss it, you always, not good about it. It's the same time where you fulfill your desire the most and you follow your desire the most. فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ. They wasted the salah and they followed their desires. وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. May Allah protect us, that they will see and meet غَيّ. And غَيّ is a valley in the hellfire, as Ibn Abbas said. So that's something to think about, the dangers of the sins, and especially the sin of the heart. One more thing to think about. لا تدري بأي ذنب تؤخذ ولا تدري بأي طاعة تؤجر. You don't know what sin that can destroy you. And you don't know what good deeds can be the one that take you to Jannah, takes you to paradise. You don't know. And when you look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way of dealing with His creation, you'll be amused by that. First of all, you don't know what sin that will lead to your destruction. Iblis did a lot of good deeds, but that sin was the turning point for him. So you don't know. Many times you make a sin and you said, I will repent later, I will change later. I'm still young, I'm still this, I'm still that. But you don't know. Maybe one sin that will lead to the cut off. And cut off from your side mainly. كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because of what they did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically have covered their hearts. And Allah told us that some hearts are sealed. Nasallallahu afiyah. Some hearts are completely blocked, wrapped, so it doesn't see the truth anymore. نَخْتِمُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ. Their hearts will be sealed, and because of their sins, as it will come in a little bit in the coming verses. So here, be always careful. Don't underestimate the sins that you do, and also don't undermine any hasana, because you don't know what's good deeds. It will be the one take you to Jannah. There is a very famous story. Many of us heard it. But this is basically the point from this story, what I just told you. The one who used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 100 years, and one day he passed by someone who's in disobedience and fasiq, doing all the haram, and he said to himself with arrogance, he said, comparing himself to that person, and he said, that person Allah will not forgive him. Then Allah said, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَتَأَلَّى عَلَيْهِ. Who's the one who put himself in my position to judge people? I forgive that person's sins and I destroy all your deeds. Regardless about the authenticity of the story, but my point here is the concept is to correct that these sins can turn the persons around. And I have seen this in my life. I have seen people commit certain sins in their life and their life completely change afterwards. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Realize and remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can turn your heart away from the deen, can turn your heart away from goodness. And He will only do this as a result of your actions. But you don't know which action can take you to that level. That's why the person always be afraid of the sins. Even when you do it, you should be afraid of it. And after you do it, you should be afraid of it. And afraid of the impact of it. You don't know when it's going to hit you back. And wallahi, I know of myself and my sins that it will hunt you down at one point. One of the ulama rahimahumullah said, أصبحت مرة وقد نسيت القرآن. I woke up and I don't remember anything from the Quran. He started over from zero. And he said, and I know that this was the result of a sin that I did 20 years ago. Yani this concept of forgetting about our sins, I don't know. I know we cannot live in the shadow of the fear of our sins. But I'm not suggesting that. But we should live also while we remember that there is things we did wrong, and it's not just going to be forgot about it. إِنَّ رَبَّكَ لَبِالْمِرْصَادِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have documented everything you have done. Not for nothing, Adam alayhi salam would say in the day of judgment, Ya Rabb, oh, he said to his people, oh, I have committed a sin. I disobeyed Allah. And I'm afraid that Allah will throw me in hellfire today, and He wouldn't care. قال يلقي بي في النار ولا يبالي. That's Adam. And guess what? Same thing said by Nuh, Ibrahim. This is the day of judgment. People fear these sins. So we should also not just ignore them, but we should fear them. And we should not underestimate any good deeds, because you don't know which one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through that good deeds, let you enter Jannah. You all remember the story of the Prophet told us about the woman who provided just drink to a dog. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive her sin. A man, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a man passing by in the road, and he found a branch of thorn in the road that can basically hurt someone. Maybe walking in the parking lot and you see a nail. You know what? I don't want this to get in somebody's car. You go and you pick it up and you throw it away. You see a stone, piece of rock, maybe if a car goes on it, it will break it and a piece will fly and hit someone. I don't want this to happen. So I go remove it. So this man basically saw that branch of thorn and he moved it from the road. فَشَكَرَ اللَّهُ لَهُ فَغَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَهُ. Allah were grateful to him. Why Allah is grateful to him? Why the Prophet mentioned that Allah is thankful and grateful to him? Because he's saving Allah's creation. And Allah will thank him in your behalf. That shows how much He loves you. That because He did something to protect you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be grateful and thankful to him. And as a result of that, Allah will forgive that person's sins. So here again, you don't underestimate these little things that we do. The small thing that you might do in this life, and it will have impact on your akhirah, a great impact in your akhirah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ. Ya Muhammad, remind them of Adam alayhi salam and the angels. When we order the angels to prostrate themselves before Adam, make sujood to Adam. And they prostrated, except Iblis, except Ash-Shaytan. When I say except the Satan, does that mean that he was one of them? In Arabic language, not necessarily. Okay? That means he was one of them. So you might say, why Allah said except it? Because the order was directed to who? To the angels. So why Iblis included? He was not one of the angels, but he was he was not one of them, but he was with them. هو كان معهم ولم يكن منهم. He was with them, but not one of them. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said something, I don't know what his proof for that. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored the Satan, the shaitan, before he disobeyed Allah, that Allah gave him the shape of the angel. أكرمه بأن أعطاه صورة الملائكة. Because the shayateen, the jinn, their face and their look is so ugly and terrifying, wouldn't be fitted to be in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have honored him to elevate him to the level of the angels and give him the look of the angels. That's why he was included when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when we order the angels. That's why shaitan was one of them. But I don't know any proof for that he had that look of the angels. But he was with them, but not one of them. And Allah made it very clear in this verse to you that he is not one of them. He was only with them by mentioning he was of the jinn and departed from the command of his Lord. He was from the jinn. And the jinn is another creation than the angels. A lot of theologians or people of other theology don't know the difference between jinn and angels. They don't know the difference between jinn and angels. They think that angels are jinn. And that's not true. And I'm mentioning that there is an opinion among the tabi'een that ash-shaytan was an angel. And they said, and in the angels there is a tribe, it's called jinn. And this tribe from the angels, or part of the angels, call a specific group of the angels called jinn. وَجَعَلُوا بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ الْجِنَّةِ نَسَبًا. They claim that Allah and the jinnah are related to each other. And the jinnah here, the jinn among angels, because the kuffar said Allah has daughters and his daughters are the jinn or these angels. But this opinion is weak and rejected by absolutely the vast majority of the Muslim scholars, and also contradict the verses in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala differentiates between jinn and angels. That Allah told us that He created the jinn from marij min nar. They were created from fire. While angels, the Prophet ﷺ told us, they were created from light, from nur. So there is a big difference between them. Al-jinn are mukallafeen. They have responsibility. Allah sent them messengers, sent them books. Angels, they have no taklif, no responsibilities, no religious responsibilities or duties, in a sense that they will be giving choices or will be judged. They only been created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they don't have the will to disobey Him. They have a will, but they don't have the will to disobey Him. They are naturally obedient creatures to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they have a will in other things. So here we say that Iblis alayhi salam was from the jinn. Once I interviewed a sister in part of America, since online now it goes everywhere. This sister, she converted to Islam, even though she was born to a Muslim family. But she told me her story. Her story is quite amazing. She said she lived a very different life than the life that she had when I met her. She used to be very rich. Actually, she took me to show me her house. One of these, fancy houses on California, actually. And like, her neighbors will be someone like Gucci, the designers, people in that category. Okay, like all these like celebrities and millions of dollars her house worth. And she ended up selling it because she can't keep up with the taxes, California taxes. Okay, so she told me her story. She's actually was born, and all what she was told that her mother she had two mothers. Her real mother who gave her birth, then she has another mother which is jinn. A jinn. And all her life, until she became 17 or 18 years old, she believed that she had another spiritual, like a spirit. That's her mother. And she used to, even 16 I would say, she used to do all the sacrifice and all these rituals at specific stone in her country, home country, where she's originally from. Anyway, she ended up finding this is ridiculous, like young girls in her country. She ended up finding a Swiss guy, became her boyfriend or something like that, and she left her family, her religion, her culture, lived in South Africa, some other places in Africa. He looks like a diamond guy, absolutely rich guy, multi-billionaire guy. And they ended up in America. She's not Muslim. So, but every year she have to do this ritual because her mother told her she never was able to get pregnant. So her mother said someone came to her and told her, if you want to get pregnant, I will make sure that you get pregnant, but with a condition that the baby you're gonna get is gonna be giving to that jinn, specific jinniya, a female jinn. So the mother agreed, and they made the deal, and she got pregnant. Okay? And since then, every year at certain time, they do certain ritual and sacrifice at this stone, and they basically offer their obedience, blah, blah. Anyway, to make the story short, it's very long. It was a 45 minutes interview I recorded with her. So in the end, she was telling me, at one point in her life, she decided to be Muslim again. She got divorced. Anyway, so all her life knows jinn are good. They're the one who brought me to life, protect me. She never heard anything negative about jinn. Okay, and the culture she lived around, they don't talk about jinn. So one day I went to the mosque, and I picked up the Muslim. I said, I want to be a Muslim. Like, I heard about Islam, Muslims. So you want to put hijab? She would start like doing what Muslims do. So she called her mom. The mom called that Shaykh, whatever you call. Anyway, she said, I traveled all the way to my country. And the guy, Shaykh, told her, the jinniya telling you, never pray. Don't ever read Quran. Don't ever pray. You're absolutely not allowed to do that. They terrify me. I said, but I'm a Muslim, supposed to do this. They told her, no, your jinniya will take care of that. Your jinn mother take care of that. She said, I closed the mushaf. I don't know where I put it. I stayed for about 1.5 years on that. But the fear of that jinn, that for me to start praying, was unbelievable. I didn't take that. She said, after 1.5 years, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start praying. She said, I took the mushaf, I was so angry one day, and I opened a random page. And this is the page that she opened. Exact page that we are studying today. And she said, when I read this verse, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ كَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. When I heard that Iblis is a bad thing, the shaitan is jinn, she said, Wallahi, Shaykh, astaghfirullah. I closed the mushaf and I threw it away on the floor. Said, lie. I couldn't take that. I went to the masjid to ask, is this a wrong translation? They said, no, what's wrong with you? There is a whole surah called Jinn. I said, Jinn too? And she said, I read it. And she said, you don't know. I used to go exactly at sunrise and sunset every night. Her mom called the genie, asked her to go to the ocean. I used to go to the ocean every sunset and sunrise, exactly when the sunrise and exactly when the sun goes down. And the Prophet told us that these two times are the times where the shaitan basically glorify himself. That's why we're not supposed to pray there. He said, I used to go until the water covered my knees, and I'll take with me a little bit of honey and a little bit of flour and some other stuff. And I put the headphones on my head, and even I try to manage to keep it dry. I get even I think that waterproof to listen to certain things I'm supposed to recite. And I said, this is for Sitti Fatma, for Sitti Fatma, which is the name of the Jinniyah, like my mother called her. And she said, I threw it for her as my gift to her. I do this every day, Shaykh. And I thought, that's my salah. Because I insist, I want a salah. They said, this is your salah. And then she ended up going to the masjid. Then she ended up realized that she never was a Muslim during this period of time. And she took her shahada and she converted to Islam. From being a jinn worshipper to be Allah subhanahu. Her mom freaked out. Because her mom, the deal that she signed with her blood, with this jinn, that if her daughter stopped showing her obedience to the jinn will kill her. Will kill your daughter. And the mother just believed that 100%. And I end up talking to her, talking to the mothers in that country. Alhamdulillah, she's alive and she is full of life, not only alive. Allah barik fiha ya Rab. So, my point is this: every time I read this verse, I remember this unbelievable story of this sister who I met in California. Wallahi, it was a tape recording, and I don't even know where is it right now. It's one of these things that somewhere in my garage. But it's very interesting. It was 45 minutes of interview. And at that time, even I made copies and I passed it. It's called My Story to Tawheed. I remember that I did copies and I distributed. When there is like only tapes, in the 1999, 1998, something like that. Okay. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he was from the jinn, فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. He basically, fasaq, comes the word fasaqa, it means kharaja. فَسَقَتِ النَّاقَ خَرَجَتْ. Al-fisq, it means when you leave something. Okay, that's why we say this is fasiq. This person is fasiq. What that fasiq means? Yani he left the orders, he left the teaching of the Islam. But this leaving could be partial, could be major. The partial, it means you left the teaching of Islam, but not all of it. Or you didn't leave the principle. That's why we said the fisq is two levels. Minor, that when you do it, you're still a Muslim, but you're a disobedient Muslim, a sinner. But also could be major. Fisq could be major. And that take you out of Islam. And the Quran sometimes use the word fasiq to refer to be equivalent to the word or synonymous to the word kafir, disbeliever. Because the way he exited, the way he left is so major that he left the principles of Tawheed or left the religion completely. And that's exactly the case in the shaitan here. فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. The shaitan is not only fasiq, he's fasiq and kafir. That's a major fisq. Is that clear? Okay. فَفَسَقَ عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِ. It means that he disobeyed or departed from the commanded of his Lord. Then will you take him and his descendants as allies? And after what he did with your father, now you know that the animosity is so old, so deep, and you know that this is a disobedient creature. Would you take him in alliance? would you trust someone like that to be your advisor, to be your counselor, to be your friend, to someone that you listen to his waswasa? That's not right. Not only him and his offsprings. أَفَتَتَّخِذُونَهُ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ أَوْلِيَاءَ. So him and his descendants. ذُرِّيَّتُهُ, his descendants, his offsprings. This verse led someone like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and also been said that Imam Malik took that position, أن الشيطان هو أبو الجن, that he is the father of all jinn. So every single jinn was from a shaitan, as every single human came from Adam. So that's the story between the father of humanity and the father of the jinn. But this verse doesn't have really a clear indication that he is the father of all jinn and no jinn before him. Doesn't really mean that all the jinn are from his offsprings. That's right. Do you see any clear indication in it? No. Okay. Anyway, so but this is a very famous opinion among the Muslim theology and Muslim scholars, that Iblis is the father of all jinn. And I always finding this very ironic, that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say here, أَفَتَتَّخِذُونَهُ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ أَوْلِيَاءَ مِن دُونِي, you're taking him and his descendants as allies instead of me, other than me, while they are enemies to you. You can also say, while I am your allies, while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your supporter. See, Allah created you, the shaitan didn't. Allah loves you, a shaitan doesn't. Allah wants good for you, a shaitan wants evil for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislate for you what will benefit you in this dunya, a shaitan doesn't. A shaitan lead you to do the thing that will cause disease and poverty and fear and بالعداوة والبغضاء, would cause animosity and fight. Allah wanted to go to Jannah, الشيطان يدعو حزبه ليكونوا من أصحاب السعير. He wants you to join him in hellfire. Allah will never leave you, will never abandon you. الشيطان abandon you. So after all this, and I can go, الشيطان is not only imperfect, الشيطان is evil. Ar-Rahman is perfect. Allah is powerful. الشيطان is weak. إن كيد الشيطان كان ضعيفا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever wills happen, الشيطان doesn't. So after all this, there is no really any reason for you to replace and to take a shaitan instead of Allah. You might say, Shaykh Waleed, but is it really common thing in humanity that someone will say, I worship a shaitan and I don't worship Allah? No. Satanic worshipping is not a common thing in humanity. Those who worship a shaitan are not too many, but those who obey a shaitan are too many. So those who obey a shaitan, because every time you obey a shaitan, you disobey Ar-Rahman, Allah. Every time you obey the Satan, Iblis, you immediately have what? Have disobeyed Allah. So that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَتَتَّخِذُونَهُ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ أَوْلِيَاءَ. You're taking them allies, you obey them, you follow them. Because when you obey someone, you obey because you love that thing. You obey him because you love him, or you respect him, or you fear him. And that means you either fear a shaitan more than Allah, trust the shaitan more than Allah, love a shaitan more than Allah, or what a shaitan ordered you to do. And that's a problem. So every time you think about it, put it that way. Would I take the shaitan instead of Allah? Immediately your heart turned, said, no, a'udhu billah, that's haram. We don't think about it this way. And if we start thinking about our sins this way, it will be completely different perspective in dealing with them. Which it is for the wrongdoers as an exchange. بِئْسَ لِلظَّالِمِينَ بَدَلًا. Why it's the worst exchange? Because the shaitan will never benefit you. Shaitan will never make you happy. A shaitan will never make you rich. A shaitan will never make you successful. A shaitan will never make you survive in the day of judgment. At all. At any point when he sees that he mislead you, he leave you. He leaves you and he will say in the day of judgment, ما أنا بمصرخكم وما أنتم بمصرخي. I wouldn't help you, you wouldn't help me. I don't know you. ما كان لي عليكم من سلطان. I never had power over you. It is very important in this story to remember the dangers of the sins and how it is so dangerous that it can affect your deen and your dunya, your present and your future. Did you see what it did to Adam? It affected his future. The sin of Adam, the sin of Iblis. So the story of Adam in general, we should always remember that the sin and the dangers of sins. But also we should realize the importance of tawbah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the tawbah and the blessing of it. Al-ulama rahimahumullah made an interesting comparison between the sin of Adam and the sin of Iblis. Because Adam sinned also. He ate from the tree, that's right. Can you guys tell me, let's see if we can come up with some of the differences between the sin of Adam, which is eating from the tree, and the sin of the Satan, which is refusing to prostrate before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before Adam. Can anyone come up with a point? Yeah, number one. He's saying Adam's sin due to ignorance. What do you mean by ignorance? Yeah, he was misled by a shaitan when he told him, if you eat from the tree, you'll be a better worshiper. So out of ignorance, not ignorance, I'll say Adam's intention while he's eating the tree was not an evil intention. His intention, what Allah told us in the Quran, وَقَاسَمَهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. I swear by Allah that I'm giving you a sincere advice. That Allah only forbade you from eating from this tree because He wants you not to turn to be angels and to be forever worshipping Allah. Just give me 1 second. Didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order the angels to prostrate themselves before Adam? Sah? Why Adam will be deceived by shaitan telling him, if you eat it, you will be like the angels. Why Adam didn't say, hey, I'm better than the angels. They made sujood to me. How he deceived him? You following? Adam was told by the shaitan, if you eat from the tree, you will be like angel. But Adam could said, why would I be like angel? Angel just made sujood to me. I'm better than them. But that's not the point of the shaitan. The point of the shaitan telling Adam, if you eat from the tree, you will be like the angels in their worship, like the nature. Because Adam find that he go to sleep and he sometimes forget to make dhikr. He's not always mentioning Allah. He's not always thanking Allah. He found he's a human. He goes, you sleep, you want fun, you're in Jannah, you will have a lot of fun. You see what I'm saying? So he's not always making dhikr. But he was told, if you eat, you will be like the angels in their worshipping. And he wants to be a great worshiper. Great, show his gratitude to Allah. So his intention from eating from the tree was not the same intention that Iblis had when he said, I'm better than him. I'm from fire and he's from clay. That's a major difference between the two. And this is a good lesson for us. Allah looking at your heart when you do the good deeds, and Allah is looking at your heart when you're doing the sin. Don't ever let Him see your heart while doing the sin, that you're arrogant, you're careless, you're full of hate and anger. So He wouldn't see the bad deeds and the bad heart. Go ahead.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
What else? What other point? Yes. Very good. Adam repented after his sin, but Iblis never repented after his sin. Very good. Well said. Yes. Yeah, but I'm talking about the differences between the nature of the sin. You said, yani, ultimately that sin of Adam led him to repent, that elevated his status, while Iblis is the complete opposite. But again, try to focus on the nature of the sin. Yes? Very good. Adam's sin comes from a desire to eat that curiosity, to eat this tree. While Iblis' sin is arrogant, it is shubha. It is like something that a qiyas, analogy that he made. It's a doubt that he has in his heart about Allah's order. Is it wise? Is it correct? Is it wrong? He's questioning Allah. The repentance from the sins, which is pure desire. Like, I disobey Allah because I love money. Okay, that's why I'm weak and I do all this haram thing and because I make money. That's different than someone start arguing and telling you, no, you know what? All this is halal and religion has nothing to do with money. What Allah has to do with business? Allah is not an accountant, and I will do my own business and I'll do everything. And you Muslim, it has nothing to do with riba ma riba. This is like nonsense. So that's different. It's completely different approaches. So here, the sin of Adam was a shahwa, desire. The sin of Iblis was shubha. What else? Very good point. We have 3 and also Salman, 3.5. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Saying Iblis tried to justify his sin, while Adam didn't justify his sin. He admit immediately. Very good, excellent. Even Ibn al-Qayyim didn't think about that. Very good. Good point. Yes? Anybody else? Okay. Adam's sin was out of weakness. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَنَسِيَ وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. That is weak. Okay? While, that's why immediately he repented, like what the brother said. But Iblis is not out of weakness. Iblis out of israr, out of, he's committed to this sin to the end. That's why he said, and always this verse bothered me the most in the whole story about shaitan. This is the one thing that drives me crazy about the shaitan. When he said, أنظرني إلى يوم يبعثون قمة الوقاحة. Absolutely no respect. Absolute arrogance. He said, give me chance to live until the day of judgment. Yani he's saying to Allah, until the day of judgment, I will continue to be kafir. Unbelievable. Can you imagine you stand before Allah and tell him, hey, I will be your enemy, you're the enemy of your creation, an enemy to you until the day of judgment. What an evil. What a guts. Azm wa israr. That's why it's big difference between him and Adam alayhi salam. The one who showed immediately fear from his sin. Also, one of the differences between this one and the 2 sins, that Adam's sin came as a result of the whispering of the shaitan. So it's have an external factor. While Iblis' sin came from within. Eternal factor. ذاتية. بخلاف آدم معصيته خارجية. Came from outside. It's a big difference between someone come to you and he said, hey, let's go do this, and try to introduce you to do like haram stuff, Very different than you from within want to do the haram. You love to do the haram. Different between the sin that happened because of circumstances. I'm in the wrong place with the wrong crowd, I end up doing this haram. Versus someone by himself doing the haram. That's why one of the major sins and the most scary sins, the one that Allah said in the Quran, إِذَا اخْتَلَى بِمَحَارِمِ اللَّهِ انْتَهَكَهَا. When he is by himself and see the haram, he will not hesitate to do the haram. But by yourself, there is no reason for you to do the haram except that your soul from inside is not pure. Your heart from inside is corrupt. I understand, from you being around group, people, certain influence. I understand that. But you cannot understand anything else than showing how evil the person from inside, when you by yourself, no reason for you to do the haram, but you insist to do it. Also, one of the differences, أن آدم سلمت له أصل العبودية مع ذنبه فلذلك لم يكفر. Adam, even when he committed the sin, he still kept his tawheed, his belief in Allah, his love and fear and respect to Allah. That's why his faith remained. So the sin just a little bit affected his faith. But a shaitan, he lost his faith with his sin. It's not anymore a sin. He lost his absolutely, completely, he lost his faith. And some sins that you might, people do, they lose with it the faith. We heard, for example, somebody, a son of his died. And he became so angry at Allah because his son died. Or got sick. And he gets so angry at Allah. Why am I? This anger at Allah's sin. But guess what? He lost his faith with it. And he ended up atheist. He ended up not believing in God. So there is certain sin, with it you lose the whole entire faith. I'm believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That didn't happen to Adam, happened to the Iblis. Because of this, Adam's sin followed by tawbah. And the shaitan's sins never followed by tawbah. Actually followed by increasing in sins. So think about these points and think about your own sins. If you share some of the attitude of Adam towards your sins, more likely you will be guided to tawbah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive you. But if you following the footsteps and you have the same attitude of the shaitan when it came to his sins, I'm worried about your future. I'm worried about what's next and what's next in your life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. Yes. Yeah, does it have anything to do with the way they were created? I think in this regard, I don't think so, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fair and He will judge us according to our abilities. So He will never judge us and hold us accountable for something we don't have a control over it. But Allah put desires in Adam, put certain elements in Adam. Same thing with the shaitan. The difference is that Adam alayhi salam was able to control his desire, to come back quickly. He is not motivated by evilness. Versus the shaitan was motivated by evil. He doesn't have any reason for him to disbelieve. Allah just honored you and made you the angels and talked to you straight and bring you so close to Him. So there is no reason for him to go that route, except that from inside, he has all these doubts and anger and hate towards Adam. One of the narration, that would be a very nice lecture to have, is to talk about the story of the shaitan and Adam. There is many lessons can be learned from this story. But in one of the narration that the shaitan saw Adam, there is something in human beings not exist in jinn nor in malaika, which is we are hollow from inside. Our shape, our body, there is hollow, there's like emptiness inside. The jinn and the shayateen, the jinn and angels, they're not hollow. There is nothing like inside. Don't ask me how they are, but that's one thing I know about. That's why a shaitan was very strange. In one narration, he used to go, when Adam, before the soul was blown into the body, when Adam was clay, the shaitan used to come and look at him and look at to the mouth and go through the mouth. And he said, that's something never seen before. So that means even angels are not like that. So it was very strange, never ever seen a creation like this. So from the beginning, when he walked and he goes inside him and he found that he has access to him from inside, then he said, because of that he has access inside to go through him, to run through him, he said, Inna li wa laka sha'na. It looks like me and you, we will have something in the future gonna happen between us. So everybody like, what's gonna happen? What's this new creation will do? What's the role that Adam will play in Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala universe? People don't know yet until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them about what is the plan is to send him to earth, down to earth. So anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Yes, I think we have some question from online group.
How can we help our students be self-aware of this? When
So this sister in line asking, how can we make she's a teacher, and she said, how can I make our students aware of this? I think it's important to share, but the most important thing is how to protect, how to reduce them, and how to deal with them when they happen. Anything else? Online? Okay, yes. He said all the jinn looks terrifying and bad, or only the disbelievers among them. The Quran speaks about the shayateen, and that whenever the shaitan mentioned, it means the disbeliever jinn. But the jinn in general know that they don't have a pleasant look on them. Okay, that's something common, that they don't look very pleasant. And that's one of the ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make them concealed, that we don't see the jinn. It's actually a blessing for us that we don't see them. They see us, we don't see them. Can you imagine how will you live your life if you can see the jinn? How you drive a car? You drive a car, you see like jinn flying and going on. How would you go to sleep? Your life will be completely miserable. Even angels, it's from Allah's ni'mah that we don't see angels. Can you imagine if you see angels? How would you live? That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if the angels to be seen, ما كان أحد يمشي على الأرض مطمئن. Nobody can walk in this earth safely or feeling safe. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam one time, and can you imagine, this is Rasulullah, this is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One time he saw the angel Jibreel in his original form. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam fainted. أغمي عليه من الهلع, from the fear. So can you imagine if we see angels around us? Imagine of human beings. Number two, that Iblis, as I said earlier, Imam Malik rahimahullah and Shaykh al-Islam bin Taymiyyah said that he is the father of all jinn. So that story was a story happened between the father of the jinn and the father of humanity. And one of the evidence that they use, a verse like this, أَفَتَتَّخِذُونَهُ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ. So he mentioned that all jinn are his offsprings, or all the jinn basically who follow his footsteps are from his offsprings. I don't see this is a very explicit text to support this claim, but it's a famous opinion, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Yeah, he said how a shaitan gathered his followers, or initially to follow him. As we say, this is his children, offsprings. So he knows them, he contact them, he talked to them, and he start basically asking them to be allies with him. The same way a shaitan mislead humans, he mislead jinn as well. I think his job will be much easier with his own kind. Okay? So the same thing. So he give them da'wah. Whoever respond to it will follow the jinn. And as they give da'wah to us, they give da'wah to others as well. Try to mislead others from the jinn as well. So that's what I know, how he gathered his followers and his children. And he proudly put his throne in the water and gathered all his big lieutenants and would say to them, and subhanAllah, he put his throne in the water because Allah's throne also on the water, but not in the earth, in the top heavens. Okay, in the top of the heavens. He put his throne in the water, and he would say, in an ocean. As a matter of fact, the hadith said, specifically mentioned, في بحر وفي لغة العرب, that means it's a salt water, it's not a fresh water. I would assume he wouldn't go to a river, they are salty. So anyhow, they go to salt in one of the places in the ocean, and he would say to, what did you do? He said, I whispered to this person, I misled him. I let him miss the salah, kill, steal, do this. Until one of them would say, I let him have one night talk about this story that the Quran repeats many times. With this, we'll come to a conclusion to our class tonight. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala benefit all of us from what we've heard and gather us in Jannatul Na'im. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ala Nabiyyina Muhammad.